And we are live across all the socials. My name is Mitch Jackson. My co-moderator and guest today is Mr. Chad Barr. We are coming to you live from Clubhouse and broadcasting to Amazon Live, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, YouTube, Twitter, and really every other little digital sandbox in between. This is going to be fun. Chad, how are you doing today, my friend?
Mitch, great to be here. It's an amazing day in cyberspace, and especially in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm located. And it's really been an amazing day, and looking forward to this session as well.
I'm looking forward to this session also, and we're going to be encouraging active Q&A, everyone. But let me first just share who we have on stage with us. Hey, Samantha, it's good to see you. Maybe we can twist Samantha's arm to join us in a few minutes. Babylon Brooke, it's good to see you too. I've got Mr. Chad Barr with me. He's one of the leading global thought leaders when it comes to creating a global digital empire. We go way back. We're friends from multiple events and multiple shows, and Chad is going to share his thoughts on really how we can all embrace digital and social to build our brands, especially moving forward from this upside down crazy 2020 and 2021 COVID-19 world. That's the man on stage next to me. Chad, I'm going to make you a co-moderator. And as we bring people up, there is no such thing as a bad question. My name is Mitch Jackson. I've been playing around on digital for I don't know, since 1996, when we put up our first website. 8 months later, $1 million case came to our law firm through that website. And although I've never been accused of being the brightest bulb in the lamp, you guys, once I realized there might be something to this internet thing, I've gone all in since then, embraced social when that rolled out. And that's what really fast forward has led us to today, where we're not only enjoying live video here in Clubhouse, but we're broadcasting live, and we're already getting questions, Chad, from many of the different platforms, which are being fed into my admin panel using StreamYard. So this is going to be good. Chad, why don't we start off with why you feel it's important to develop a brand as being a thought leader and being a creator of global digital empires?
Thanks, Mitch. That's a great question. First of all, just a very quick background. My company was a software development company for many years. I think I started the company about 1987, so I truly did not want to reveal my age. But 1987 is when I started my company as a software development company. And then fast forward years later, and the key businesses we were serving at that time were distribution centers, or any company that would have a warehouse and distribute their merchandise. We automated every aspect of their business. And we also dealt with some nursing home. And then with the start of the internet, and I used to say that Al Gore and myself probably invented it, but as the internet start to become more and more popular, many of our distribution clients came to us and say, this thing called the internet, is there a way for you to help us get to the internet? So that started to truly push the focus of my company from just developing software, I shouldn't say just developing, but being a software development company to an internet development company. And that attracted not only small businesses, but entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, authors, and so on and so forth. As I observed over the years, some of the top, most successful thought leaders, what has become apparent to me, they are all prolific publishers of remarkable content. Notice I didn't say just content, but remarkable provocative content. And they don't stop creating. So if you look at the Tony Robbins of the world, or Marshall Goldsmith, or Seth Godin, they're all creating amazing content, whether it's podcasts and blog entries and products and books and videos. It's just almost overwhelming from a positive perspective to watch them. So one of the key marching orders that I have for myself and my clients, if we aim to strengthen our own thought leadership, we have to do so by, number one, focusing on the strategy of our company on the internet. Number two, focusing on how do we create remarkable content that becomes valuable to others and attract them to us. And number three, what are the marketing initiatives that we need to engage in order to make sure that the impact that we create is substantial and help others? Those are the key three factors: strategy, remarkable content, and marketing initiatives.
Well, that's oftentimes, Chad, easier said than done, maybe easier to understand than implement, right? And I know you've helped some of the largest companies, some of the most well-known individuals and brands on the planet do just that. But you and I have also over the years talked about some of the mistakes, some of the key mistakes that we see people making with their social media platforms and their social media sites. So why don't we talk about those first? What are the key mistakes you see people making, and why is it so important, frankly, to avoid making those mistakes? Because oftentimes they have long-term implications.
That's a great question, and let me give you my answer, and I would be very curious to hear what you've seen and observed over the years as the key mistakes. Not to rehash what I said just earlier, many clients or prospective clients would approach me and say, "Can you help me create a website?" And my typical answer, not in a humorous way, but in a serious kind of way, you're already thinking about it in a completely different, wrong fashion. And what I mean by that rather than thinking about a website, I suggest that we all think in terms of web presence. And one of the books that I co-authored years ago is called $1 Million Web Presence. And the essence of $1 Million Web Presence is what I kind of mentioned just earlier. It all boils down to the strategic aspect of our business in the web. And when I talk about strategic, I realize that that's kind of a big word, but the strategies: who are the clients we are trying to attract? What is their profile? Where are they located? What are their challenges? What are the valuable services and products that we have to offer? So part of the strategy is all looking into that. Number two, what's the remarkable content that will make us distinguished from others, that will make us separated from others? So the second part, as I said earlier, how do we create remarkable content that will make sense for our business? And then what are the marketing initiatives, and I'll talk about it later on today, what are the marketing initiatives that we should engage in order to make sure that we make our mark and we attract others to us while delivering the value. So those are the key mistakes that I see people make. They jump into putting together a website before really understanding the strategy of their business, the strategy of the web. They don't think in terms of what is the powerful content that they should be creating, and then they're not engaged in a marketing initiatives that will create more engagement out there. So that's my take. I'm curious to hear what mistakes you've seen out there.
Well, I've made a few mistakes myself. I've watched other people duplicate the same mistakes that I've made. It's an interesting dynamic because, for example, unlike law school, where we graduate from university, we go to law school, we learn the trade, we then are mentored by older lawyers before we're given the opportunity to try our first case. With social media, oftentimes the platforms are free. Anyone can click and set up their first platform. They can create content without anyone telling them what to create, how to repurpose it, what to say, how to engage. And so we do see a lot of mistakes being made just because of the nature of social media. I always tell my friends it's like snow skiing. I grew up snow skiing, and it's one thing to go to the ski shop and buy some boots and bindings and some skis and drive up to the top of Squaw Valley or Mammoth and hit Cornice and think that you're going to have a good experience as you're trying to navigate your way down these steep slopes, these black diamond runs. But if you have an expert who shows you what type of equipment you should be purchasing and how to use your edges when initiating a turn on the ski slopes and basically teaches you how to ski, then your first experience skiing is going to be an enjoyable one, and you'll probably pick it up for the rest of your life. So I think to answer your question, Chad, I see a lot of people just simply doing a million different things wrong when it comes to social media, but primarily, I think when it comes to professionals, not sharing their human side, not adding and sharing their hobbies, their interests, their passions in the content that they're creating. I think there's a blend between who we are as human beings and what we do for a living, especially when it comes to creating rapport and building relationships. And the professionals and business owners that I see online that think that social media is all about selling, and it's not. are the ones that I think are leaving their cards on their table. They're leaving opportunity in their back pocket, and they're not leveraging, I think, all of the fun things and valuable things that social media has to offer. We're here, you guys, today just talking about what we've both observed, what Chad's consulted about when it comes to my clients, when it comes to my business, when it comes to Chad's clients, literally building multi-million-dollar digital brands on the social webs, and just sharing with you what works and what doesn't. We talked a little bit about some of the mistakes we see often, but Chad, what are some of the million-dollar positive decisions? What are the million-dollar correct decisions that you've watched entrepreneurs make over the years?
I'm going to answer that question in a second, but I also want to give you the kudos that not only I see you on the internet, I see you on social, delivering your value, but you also, which you just commented on it, you share your personal side. You take us on a walk with you on your run. Just the other day, even meeting a snake on your run. So you are not only great at sharing your personal side.
That snake met me, Chad. That snake came up to me. I didn't come up to it.
But the other thing that I've noticed, you've been so generous, even with my own self in my own business, in inviting me to participate when my book came out. You interviewed us, so you've been so great at delivering your value and also be generous in doing so. Going back to the question you just asked me, the $1 million, from my perspective, and I've been fortunate to work with some amazing $1 million producers over the years, and some that strive to increase their revenues. So I do say to my clients, $1 million is somewhat arbitrary. What if the life balance, excuse me, what if the great life that you want to create can be established with generating, say, 300 and 400,000 rather than striving for the million? So the $1 million is somewhat arbitrary. But when I look at the most powerful performer out there, it goes back to what I said before, is their ability to create powerful content and their engagement with others. So the powerful content, my simple benchmark is this. When I listen to a piece of content, whether it's a podcast or I watch a video or I read an article, is my reaction to that piece of content, and I realize that may be somewhat subjective, but is my reaction, so what, I've heard it before, that's okay? Or is my reaction, wow, this is profound? Or I never thought about it this way. I've got to take note of that, maybe even put it into my database so I can reflect to it later. So the key here is not just create content, but to create powerful, provocative, engaging content that would make others say, this is extremely valuable. So that's the first thing that I kind of hinted before, suggested before. The remarkable content, as I look at some of the people I admire on the web, those are the one I go after all the time, or listen to them and watch them, because their content is absolutely remarkable. And then the way that they engage us, whether it's through now through Clubhouse or through their YouTube channel or through their products and workshops, those are the top two things that I believe, from my observation, the $1 million producers are doing extremely well in their business. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are, you seem to make it sound easy, but I did get a question that came in from, we're broadcasting everyone, the audio to Twitter, multiple Facebook groups and pages, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Live. We have a question that came in from Facebook, Chad, and it sounds great. I think we all understand what you're saying about creating remarkable content, but the question is, where do we get these ideas? How can we come up with great ideas from which we can build or create content around? That's a great question.
It is a great question. I want to talk about the framework in a second, because I've created a framework that enables me to allow my clients to create not only, I believe, powerful content, but oftentimes very provocative. So we'll go through that in a minute. I also believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So oftentimes when we look at a visual, when we look at a chart, when we look at an infographic, we can grasp the idea instantaneously. So some time ago, I've created an infographic that I actually called 21 Insights to Accelerate Your Creative Flow. So in that infographic, there are actually 21 ideas that I illustrated. Where do our ideas come from? But let me also, before I get into that visual as an example, I want to share with you one more thing. One of my favorite activity is when I get a chance to speak in front of an audience, whether oftentimes speaking at the National Speaker Association or any other event like that. I stop there and I look at the audience and say, what are some of the top challenges that you're facing today? That if you could wave that magic wand, those challenges would disappear. And then I always make sure that there's a flip chart on the stage when I speak. And as people shout out their challenges, I just write it on the flip chart as quickly as possible. Oftentimes, I just go through multiple pages because people just shout out their challenges. Then I stop there for a moment and I look at the audience and I say, if you ever wonder where my greatest ideas come from, they come right from you. Because when you're sharing with me those challenges, it gives me the opportunity not only to answer them, but then to develop articles, develop podcasts. So the best suggestion I have among many other ideas that I can point you to, that infographic that I created, the best ideas of where I believe my favorite ideas come from are for my prospective clients and for my clients. Because when I listen to them and I ask them, what are some of the issues you're facing today? What are some of the key challenges you're facing today? They're absolutely delivering, in a way, what content I should be creating. By the way, I just brought up that infographic, not to cheat, but to go through very quickly. Number one, I get a lot of my ideas through. And by the way, that infographic is available on my website.
So, Chad, I actually got a couple of Twitter DMs. Where can they find that infographic if they'd like to click and watch it right now while you're walking us through it?
So, if they go to our website, the Chad Barr Group, which I'm going to go there right now, and then on the menu under transformations, all they have to go is to go to visualize. In Visualize, there are 4 segments there: infographics, cartoons, Chadisms, which are my personal quotes, and one of my favorite, which are charts that we've created, or I created Transformation Visual. If they click on infographics on the left, that's going to bring up all the infographics we created. And then the last one on the bottom left is where do ideas come from? 21 insights to accelerate your creative flow. So if they click on that, that's the one that is the one I'm referencing right now. And very quickly, without having to go through all the 21 ideas, number one, books.
Chad,
of course, books are...
Chad, just so you know, for everyone watching on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Amazon Live, they are now looking at that infographic. We're broadcasting it live across the socials. Once again, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's anytime. You're getting me too excited here, Mitch. So anyway, books is number one. Publication, whether it's the Wall Street Journal, Inc. magazine, Forbes, just by reading and see what people are talking about, it gives me an idea to comment, and then either to somewhat dispute some of the points or to add to it by adding my value. Curiosity, that's huge from my perspective. What am I curious about that I should either develop a piece of content that not only will satisfy my curiosity, but hopefully I believe will be of value to others. Observing, examining others. My travel, I get so many ideas when I travel. The next one is what I call the genius. Surround myself with a great thinker who challenged me, not just through my library, but right now I'm new to Clubhouse, and thankfully to you, Mitch, you kind of pushed me to go there. But I love the platform because it enables me to surround myself with tremendous talent, tremendous genius that I've not met before. And even just morning, meeting, of course, some people on the call that you conducted earlier with Samantha was just amazing. She provides some amazing value. So again, not going through the whole chart, those are some of the ways that I get the ideas of what I should create. And as I said, the first one is always just simply listening to my clients. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Well, my thoughts are everything I do surrounds what my clients need. What are the issues or challenges that need to be fixed? What do I need to bring to the table to improve the client experience? It doesn't matter what platform I'm on. It doesn't matter what courtroom I'm in. It doesn't matter what judge I'm appearing in front of. It doesn't matter what expert I have standing to my left or right. It comes down to delivering a solution that the client's looking for in a fashion that will be appreciated and digested by that client, and in a way that's beneficial and win-win for everybody involved. And it comes from doing this over time, again and again and again, right? Improving on a daily basis our approaches, whether it's here on Clubhouse, whether it's over on Twitter Spaces, and whether it's in the courtroom. So the ideas that I use also do come from clients, but Chad, they also come from breaking news stories. I think there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of people looking for answers. I think every single day when we turn on the news, there's a new issue or challenge that people need help with fixing or wrapping their mind around or understanding or appreciating or getting behind to support. So those are some additional ideas or sources that I use to help create the content that I come up with. I'm a lawyer because I like to take on the wrongdoers. There's a lot of wrongdoers out there right now. I'm a lawyer because I like to help people fix their problems. There's a lot of problems out there. So for me, some of these ideas come probably that may not work for everyone else listening here in Clubhouse or across the socials, but I think all of us can kind of relate to listen, pay attention to what's going on out there, and then create content to solve those problems, to add to the conversation, or to help people, put their head on a pillow at night and sleep better, knowing that everything's going to be okay. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
That's amazing, Mitch. I mentioned earlier that I've created a framework, and I would love to just demonstrate the framework very quickly in how any one of us can really create a very powerful piece of content. Are you up to it?
Well, I think I'm up to it, or we can bring someone up from stage, from the audience, if you want to do that. You tell me, Chad. What do you want to do?
I'm courageous today. Let's bring someone from the audience if they're up to it.
Does somebody want to do a little Q&A with Chad Barr? I've watched him do this with some friends of mine in my mastermind, and it's a great exercise. You guys are going to get value out of this. Samantha, if you're up for it. Brooke, if you're up for it. Merlin, just raise your hand and come up on stage. And I'm going to give you about 5 seconds. There we go. Samantha's going to jump up. Awesome. Hang on a second. This is so much fun, you guys. It's a powerful exercise that you're going to have an experience value. Samantha, joining us all the way from Ireland, one of the premier Twitter experts on the planet. Good to see you, Samantha Kelly.
Well, thank you. I was busy composing a tweet for this. I can actually tell you what it says, how to create very powerful piece of content. And I was ready to listen. And I'm like, no, now I have to speak. Okay.
Okay, Chad.
Okay.
Samantha's all yours.
Oh, dear.
Thank you, Samantha. You're awesome. So this is going to be amazing. So if I were to ask you this question first, what's among the many challenges that your clients are to be in any particular order? I'm just looking for one challenge that your clients are sharing with you that they're saying, Samantha, I really am struggling with that. What is that one challenge?
Getting clicks to sale.
What was the second word? Getting what to sale?
Sorry, clicks to sale from social media. So getting sales from social media.
Gotcha. I'm going to take some notes. So just to demonstrate in a couple of seconds how we can create very powerful piece of content from them. So if I came to you and I say, Samantha, I've heard great things about you. I looked at your website. I looked at all the social media platform. There's no doubt in my mind, you are the expert in how to get sales from social media. I personally, my company, myself, really struggle with how to do so. Among the many insights that you can share with me, what are the top 3 that you would say, Chad, if you were at least to focus on starting with these 3 things, you will absolutely be on your way to get sales from social media activities?
Okay, so I would encourage you to get on camera more and tell your story.
So the first thing is for me to learn to tell my story.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if it's a product, the story behind the product, why you created it. Like Mitch said, the reason I do what I do is because I know there's lots of people that don't do good things, for example.
I love it. So tell the story behind the product, why I created it, and more information about that.
If it's a product, yeah. If it's a product, yeah.
Or it could be a story about the service, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Love it.
What's
What's the second insight that you would say, Chad, this is the second thing you should consider doing to get more sales from social media?
Start helping others first and adding value. So if you help others, they'll help you back when you launch your product.
Love it. So deliver value, help out. What's the third thing that you say, Chad? This is the third thing you should consider doing.
Use visuals. Use good, good visuals, and smile on social media.
I like that. And smile. That's great. I always say to my clients, take a breath first. Just breathe before you do anything. But I like this thing of smiling. That's great. So if you allow me for a brief moment, I'm going to become Samantha for just a brief moment, and I will demonstrate if it's okay with you, how I take what you just shared with us and create a powerful piece of content. It could be a short podcast. It could be an article. It could be a video blog. But if it's okay with you, I'll pretend to be you for a brief moment. Is that okay?
Oh, good luck getting into my head. Go on.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take on Samantha's role. I either am looking at, let's say, a video camera and recording it right now, or I'm about to podcast. But I would say something like that. I've been fortunate to work with some amazing clients over the years all over the world. They're entrepreneurs, coaches. Yet one of the key challenges that get shared with me when I first meet them is all about how do I leverage this thing called social media to generate more sales. This is the key challenge that my clients are facing, is how to generate more sales for social media. So if this is the challenge that your company is facing today, I have quite a lot of insights I want to share with you. But today I'm going to share with you the top 3. Number 1, you have to become remarkable in telling the story about behind the products or services, whatever it is that you're promoting. The story have to really engage them. So becoming powerful storyteller is the first thing I would suggest for you to consider learning how to do. Number 2, it's all about helping others. So the question I have for you, what are you doing today to make sure that the thing that you're doing is of an extreme value to others? And finally, you've got to use visual to engage them and make sure that they're attracted to the product, to the story. And you have to smile, because if you not smile, the others are not smiling. So let me pose this question to you. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what are you doing today to make sure that you're leveraging these insights to improve your business, so your business is not just barely surviving, but actually thriving? If this resonates with you, give me a call or send me an email or DM me on Instagram, because some of the best relationships I've created over the years have started with a simple conversation, just like this one.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
And the
so
good,
notice,
and the good news,
there was no
the good news, everyone. The good news, everyone, is that is recorded, and you can listen to that process. You can work yourself through those 3 steps. If you go back and check out this recording on Twitter, LinkedIn, any of the Facebook groups. I just want everyone to know that, Chad. That's one of the reasons I wanted to record today's rooms. That's super powerful, what you just did, and we can all do it, right?
Absolutely. It really boils down to the simple concept of what I call a case study. When you think about putting together a case study has basically 3 components to it. The challenge. What is the challenge that we want to talk about that the client is facing or are facing? Number 2, what is the intervention, the how-to? How do we go about? So I immediately stated the challenge. How do I get more sales from social media? The intervention, the how-to, or the 3 points or the 5 points or the 13 points, whatever it is that we want to share in that piece. And then an engagement, a call to action that will improve their outcome. That's simply what I've done there.
I just love that approach. And I think the approach really, and Samantha, I would appreciate your thoughts on this too. What this approach does is it embraces what works on social media. You're adding value. You're actually sharing 3 things that people should be taking into consideration to do X, Y, and Z. And we all know that understanding those three things is different than actually executing on those 3 things. One of the biggest hurdles that I see come across with lawyers is they're afraid of sharing their secret sauce because they're afraid clients will try to do it themselves. I'm not going to need the lawyer since he or she just told me how to do it. But in the real world, that's not the way it works. By doing what you just shared, it builds credibility. It builds a perceived expertise that allows the consumer to take that next desired step of reaching out to you, of clicking, of taking that next, relationship building step to get you involved, to help them do the same thing. Samantha, was that your takeaway also?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always saying all of those things, but it's actually going and asking for the meeting, isn't it? It's like, I can help you do this,
You were awesome, Samantha. Thank you for for volunteering, for letting.
Yeah, I'll go back down to the audience now. Thanks.
Only if you want to. Only if you want to. You can participate in the conversation if you'd like, Samantha. Always enjoy having you on stage. But what's interesting is it's the power of adding value, the power of giving and giving and giving in Chad's three-part process framework, which then results in trust, which then results in credibility that leads to that next new client. It leads to that next sale. That's something that we were doing before the internet, Chad, and now I think we can 10x it with social media. How important is credibility on the web? It's a rhetorical question. We know the answer, but Chad, I also know that you have different ways that we can create instant credibility. That happens to be one of them, correct?
Yeah, I thought about it for a long time. What generates credibility, especially when I visit someone's profile, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on their website, whether it's on their blog. And I've come to realize it's pretty simple from my perspective. Number one, who are the clients that they're serving? So short of going to their bio and taking a look at what they've done, I oftentimes take a look at who are their clients that they are serving. And if I only see 2, 3, 4 clients, perhaps there's a way to go there. But if I see a list of 10, 20, 30, 100 clients, so I always say from a clients list perspective, make that page on your website scroll down forever. And of course, if you go to our website, we try to demonstrate it if you just go to our clients list or testimonial. Number 2 is, of course, the testimonial. If I were to tell you how great I am, that may be perceived as fluff or Chad is just full of himself. But if my clients tell you how great I am, that's a proof, that's a fact. So I always suggest for our clients, brag or rave about you through the words of your clients, not through your own words. So that's the second thing, testimonial. Clients' results, what are the typical results or not so typical results that you've helped your clients achieve? That's huge. The fourth one is what we mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, case studies. What is a typical case, especially, by the way, if you could reveal the client's identity in the case study, that's worth its weight in gold. And finally, your intellectual property, your wisdom, your knowledge through podcasts, through videos, through articles, through newsletters, the more the merrier. That's from my perspective very quickly, how credibility can be established on the web very quickly.
Well, and let's just talk about real time right now on Clubhouse, you guys, and on Twitter. This is how it works, because Chad just shared massive value. Samantha was kind enough to jump up on stage and have some fun with us. But Samantha did something else in real time, Chad, and I want everyone to see how social media works. She walks her talk. She's a leader on Twitter and the other platforms. Samantha just tweeted out, Chad, to 60,000 people, how to create a very powerful piece of content, ... according to Chad Barr Group, your Twitter tag. So you were tagged and that went out. Become remarkable, become a storyteller. Ask, what are you doing to add value? Use visuals and smile on social media, as told to Mitch Jackson with my tag. What just happened live here on Clubhouse, Samantha was kind enough to share with her audience around the world. It builds credibility. It builds perceived expertise for everyone involved in that tweet. And here's something else it does. It curates valuable content to Samantha's audience where they're going to find value and appreciate the fact that she took the time to share something of value that she heard or participated in with her audience. And that's one of my favorite things to do too. You read something, you see something, you hear something, you watch something that you know your community or people in your community are going to find valuable, and you shine a bright light on it. You share that out on all the different platforms. And that's how you start building credibility, that instant credibility that I asked you about. So number one, thank you, Samantha, on behalf of my guest, Chad, for doing that. That's very, very kind. And also for everyone else that have retweeted and shared out today's room. I mean, that's what it's all about. Now, I don't think when we talked about instant credibility, I think credibility is something that you earn over time. It's something that's built over time. But Chad, what's the difference between, developing this credibility over time and eventually building a brand so that you're known as being a game changer? What's a game changer in your marketing concepts, and how can we become game changers in the short and long term?
I love the use of visuals because, as I said earlier, from my perspective, a picture speaks 1,000 words oftentimes. So if you either on a piece of paper draw something very quickly, or just imagine it in your head, think about an XY axis. So a line in the middle of the page going horizontal, and right in the middle of this page, and the same line going verticals. So basically you have 4 quadrants, right? You have top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right quadrant. Basically the X portion of that is what I call prolific publishing. So again, to rehash, how prolific are you as far as a publisher? How much content are you putting out there in a variety of formats? And the formats could be podcasts and articles and newsletters and videos and products and so on that we talked about earlier. The Y-axis is how provocative, how much noticeable is it? So bottom is prolific publishing, and the top is provocative. If you look at the bottom left corner of this XY axis, right? The bottom left says you're not publishing enough or at all, and you're not provocative if you are publishing. So it's kind of just you're just putting stuff out there, but it's not gets noticed. I call this quadrant invisible. To the right would mean that you are publishing a lot. You're putting good content. Let me rephrase it. You're putting content out there, but it is not provocative. It is not powerful. It's not engaging. From my perspective, I call that quadrant commodity. You're just like anyone else. You're a commodity. Top left, you are not publishing enough. You're publishing some, but not enough. But what it is that you're publishing is very provocative, very powerful, very engaging. I call that quadrant, you're the best kept secret. And then the top right, when you are publishing in good format, and hopefully a lot of it, and you're provocative, you're a game changer. So my suggestion for everyone kind of listening through that, whatever quadrant you are in right now, it should not be that hard over a short period of time to become a game changer by putting good content out there that is provocative, that makes people say, wow, I never thought about it this way. And that's where the engagement come in, and they say, I've got to talk to you. Thoughts on that, Mitch?
No, absolutely. I love the idea of creating content and then making the effort and going back and taking good content and making it even better content. For example, the audio that we're recording in today's Clubhouse on the different platforms, Chad, I'll have my team break this down to 2 or 3 minute clips and repurpose on social, especially some of the more valuable comments that you've shared, Samantha, and anyone else that comes up on stage, and repurpose that out, which leads me to a question from LinkedIn. One of your fans said that they've heard you say, Chad, that if you don't take your site seriously, why should others? If you could talk about that. But let me just add to that, if you don't take your social media content seriously, if you don't take your engagement and participation on Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces and all the other platforms, if you don't take it seriously, and what I mean by that is seriously focus on the quality of relationships, seriously focusing on helping others, seriously focusing on adding value through your content, why should other people care? Chad, your thoughts on really raising the bar and spending time and taking our content development, including our platforms and websites, seriously?
Very simple. Good question again. Very simple. The efforts, the energy we put into our site would demonstrate itself by virtue of the kind of articles we put, the kind of content we're putting out there. If we are not weighing it as serious. If we're not taking it seriously, most likely the kind of content we're putting out there, the kind of engagement are not that powerful or not that important. If it's not important to us, why in the world would it be important to someone else? So that's my take on why we've got to take this thing seriously. Have some fun in the process, but really devote our passion, enthusiasm into that. And finally, you said just before that, unrelated, you said raising the bar. By the way, I trademark, among other things, my newsletter is called Raising the Bar. And by the way, bar is spelled just like my last name, B-A-R-R. And just as a side note, one of my dear clients who is a trademark attorney, Eric Pelton, a shout out to him, has taught me years ago how critical it is to trademark and protect our brands. And Raising the Bar is protected. So at the time that I filed for the protection, of course, I would put the TM next to it. When I finally got the approval from the USPTO government office, that TM became an R. I cannot tell the listeners of this session how critical it is that we protect our brand and trademark whatever it is that we need to trademark. Otherwise, potentially someone could come back and force us from being able to use it in the future. The trademarking, which by the way is somewhat different from copywriting, but trademarking is a critical aspect of protecting our brands.
Huge issue on social media. We're going to be opening this up. If you'd like to come up and say hi, ask Chad or me a question. We have a few more talking points to go through. Yeah, the IP issues are so important. I'm participating in Agora Pulse virtual summit, Chad, in a couple of weeks, and they asked me to talk about the intellectual property aspect of content creation, especially through the eyes of a social media agency, where you've got a brand on one side giving you content to use. You've got an influencer on the other side that may or may not be following FTC or IP rights and regulations. And what are some things that social media agencies can do to protect themselves? What can we do here on Clubhouse to protect ourselves, or over on Twitter Spaces? And it's something that I think we all need to take into consideration, having a strategic game plan when it comes to building the business, when it comes to protecting legal rights, when it comes to doing all the things that we're doing on social. Just because it's fast and easy doesn't mean that we, are allowed to look the other way and disregard, legal requirements or other people's intellectual property. It's strategic. And when it comes to a strategy, Chad, I know you've got I think what it's called, it's an internet strategic profile. It's a marketing blueprint. Talk to us a little bit about the internet strategic profile and maybe how we can use some of those concepts while building our brands here on Clubhouse.
That's a great question. If you go to our website, thechadbargroup.com, and under the menu called Transformations, there is the option, the drop-down that's called Visualize. And then you'll come to a page that has 4 different options. The right side says, go ahead. The right side says Transformation Visuals. So what you could do, if you click on Transformation Visuals, one of the visuals about halfway down or 2/3 down, on the right-hand side is called your marketing blueprint, which I also call the strategic profile. That marketing blueprint is huge. I also have a download under our download on our website that will allow you to really get more into the marketing blueprint. Basically what I've done, I've come up with about 35, 40 labels on the left-hand side of that list. Anywhere from ranking your website, your blog, your online community or your tribe, your newsletter, your articles, your special reports. Social media, of course, is listed somewhere there as well. But there are 40 different things that you can rank yourself. And then to the right of each one, what I tell our clients to do is give it a score of 0 to 3, 0, 1, 2, or 3. 0 means it's non-existent or it's really, really poor. 1 means it's somewhat competitive with others out there. 2 means it's distinct, which means you're doing certain things that are definitely getting attention out there. And the last one is breakthrough, number 3, which means you're one of the few that's doing this that is different from anyone, unique and different from anyone else out there. So basically, as you look at those 35 or 40 different labels, I ask my clients to rank themselves on a score of 0 to 3 on each one of them. That immediately establishes what I call a marketing blueprint profile or a strategic profile of where you are on the web. Some items may be a 0, some items may be a 3, that you're doing some breakthrough ideas. And then I ask them, the people that you admire on the web, who are some of those people? How would you rank those people? Lo and behold, always, as we think about the people we admire, we rank them much higher in almost every single level of that profile than we are ranking ourselves. The call to action is, what are the top 2, 3, 4, 5 of items we should focus on to start moving to the right? If it's a 0, we need to start moving it to a 1. If it's a 1 to a 2, if it's a 3, how do we make sure that we maintain a breakthrough level? So that's the internet strategic profile that allows me and allows my clients to very quickly diagnose themselves and then decide what is the call to action I need to focus on to increase my success. Needless to say, the last thing I'll say, it will be virtually impossible for anyone, including myself, to engage in all 35 or 40 labels. I always say, what are the top 3? Let's now focus on the one of them that will have the biggest impact and the biggest value to your clients and to your business.
Great tips, Chad. I love that so much. I also love the fact that Beth Hall jumped up on stage. Beth's a Grammy-nominated artist and songwriter. I'm wondering if the intellectual property conversation piqued Beth's interest. Hey, Beth, unmute and join us.
Hi, Mitch. Hi, Chad. Thank you so very much for letting me come up on the stage. I wish I had found you guys earlier. What a remarkable gift you both are. Yes, you did pique my interest on intellectual copyright. In the field of music and entertainment, which is where I have lived for 40 years, as well as in communications, I'm just curious, going back to your trademark comment, Chad, number one, when should you put TM after your idea? Is it when your trademark is in the process with your attorney and the U.S. Patent Office? That's number one. And number two, what is your best advice when somebody, quite honestly, there are some people that I have mentored in the past who are basically copying everything that we're putting out there, word for word, verbatim. And, I'm just curious what your advice would be as how to differentiate yourself. It goes along without saying that these are young people who think they know everything, but that's an editorial comment on my part. Thank you very much for letting me ask my questions. I'm Beth and I'm done.
Thank you, Beth. First of all, great questions, which I'll address in a moment. And if I understand correctly, being in the music world, I'm also a musician. So I would say once a musician, always a musician. Guitar is my main instrument. And it's kind of interesting that kind of from the music, I went into software development, and the same brain pleasure that I would get from writing a piece of music or playing or entertaining and performing, I oftentimes would get almost the same enjoyment from developing a piece of software. So great that you're in the music world.
Well, thank you. I also advise music tech companies, which is a later extension of my knowledge and skills, and it's absolutely such a blast. So I love both of your profiles. You're incredible humans. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. But I too live in that tech space as well.
That's great, and would love to stay in touch with you afterwards. So here's the answer to your question. I'll start with the second one first. What happens when you find someone out there that possibly is lifting your content, right? Very quick story. Several years ago, one of the trademarks I created is creating global digital empires. It has been trademarked by me. It has an R after it, so it's protected and registered by me. I talk about it often, how to create global digital empires. I wrote about it. There's a product I have about that. And it's one of the very popular topics I speak to the National Speaker Association when they invite me to speak. It's either that or $1 Million Web Presence. I get a call from one of my clients saying, did you see the article in the National Speaker Association about how to create your global digital empire? I said, no. He said, "You'll be surprised. I thought it was you because I know your trademark, but it was not you." I'm opening the magazine, the National Speaker Association magazine. The article is How to Create a Global Digital Empire, written by someone who a year before interviewed me for his podcast show. And he says at the beginning of the show, Chad has created the concept of creating global digital empire. And for the next hour, he's really asking me, how do we do so? And he's giving me the credit for doing so. Then a year later, he's writing the article without mentioning, number one, that I own the trademark, and number two, where he got all those great ideas. Needless to say, my next call was to him. And it was a very nice and friendly call because I took the approach that most likely he did not realize what he's doing. And I told him basically, I'm very disappointed that you have not given the credit to where credit is due. And please realize from this point forward, if you were to ever use the concept of creating digital empire, you need to give me the attribution and make sure that you say this is owned a trademark by Chad Barr. That's the reason I'm saying that is not to boast, but to demonstrate the power of protecting your brand. Now, not only next step, if he was not going to do it, of course, I would release my attorney to go after him and send him a nasty note to cease and desist from using creating global digital empire. Imagine the opposite. What if I did not trademark creating global digital empire and he decides to interview or get some ideas and then he decides to trademark it? Theoretically, he could have forced me to stop. Very, very dangerous, obviously. At that time, I would have to go into court and defend it. Who better than Mitch would know what it will take then to try to defend my own trademark, which would have cost me most likely $1,000. Most likely, I would have won that case because I could prove that I started to use it before. But who needs that headache? So the call to action to all of us, really give some thoughts to what you need to trademark, what keywords, and make sure you do the research first. And any trademark attorney can help you do so, to do the research that has not been yet trademarked by someone. And there's also the issue of trademarking in the US versus trademarking international. I'm not going to get into it. Very quickly, the answer to your first question, when you are even just thinking of trademarking something, just put a TM next to it. If it's a service, you put the SM, so service mark versus TM. So that's the first thing. Just even thinking about it, put a TM or SM. Once you apply, it may take anywhere from 8 months, and by the way, it's taking longer and longer to do so because the backlog for the USPTO office. So it may take, in my experience, it took about a year to get the trademark from start to completion. Once you get the trademark, which is a really fun day, you get the letter from the USPTO office, and that's the time that I can change the TM or the SM to an R. That's basically the quick or the longer answer to your short question. And thank you very much, because that's an amazing question.
It's an important.
Thank you so very much,
Beth. Important question. And let me just say, I've got a list of IP lawyers who I know, like, and trust. Every single one of them are personal friends. Every single one of them are active on social media. Many here on Clubhouse who understand the unique requirements of creators and entertainers and inventors and entrepreneurs. And if you DM me, and I just followed you on social, but if you DM me, just a little reminder, because I got a lot going on today, I'll send that list over to you and you'll be in good hands. One of the lawyers, you guys, fun story real quick, Pete Salsick, most of you know him here on Clubhouse. Pete represented the tattoo artist who put the tattoo on Mike Tyson's face. And in the movie Hangover 2, when Ed Holmes, the actor, woke up the next morning with a similar tattoo on his face, guess what? That was a copyright violation because the movie studio did not get permission from the artist to duplicate the tattoo on Mike Tyson's face onto Ed Holmes in the movie. And litigation commenced, and the case was adequately resolved in favor of Pete's client, the tattoo artist. The reason I'm bringing this up is that with social media and digital, there are a lot of, just because it's easy to grab a logo, a picture, a video, an audio and use it, doesn't necessarily mean, in fact, you probably don't have the right to do so. if you weren't the creator of that content or if you don't have an appropriate license. And so for anyone listening, both here in Clubhouse or across the socials, if you have any questions about that, just DM me. I'll send you the list of my trusted go-to IP lawyers. And I'm sure most of them, especially if you use my name, will be happy to jump on a call for 15 minutes and answer your questions and help you out. So Beth, hopefully that will get you going in the right direction. Okay.
Thank you, Mitch, so much. We are launching a podcast this month for our community and would love to have both of you as guests talking about your wisdom and expertise. We have an international following, so if that's something of interest, I will DM you each separately, but I greatly appreciate all your willingness to help, and I've learned great things. So thank you so much. I'm Beth, and I'm done.
Awesome.
I would be honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. That would be my privilege. That would be fun. Love to. Just DM us. And thanks for jumping up on stage. Katara, thank you for being so patient. Please unmute and jump in with a question, comment, or just to say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for adding me to this stage. My name is Kitara, and I'm the owner of Kitara Kelly Empire. I have two questions. The first question is, if you are an entrepreneur and your manufacturer is in America and you want to dominate the American market as your hometown market, but you registered your company and trademarked your company in your country, for me to do that, would I have to register it in America, or is my registration okay? Is it enough to cover the globe?
So let me just jump in real quick. Although I am a California lawyer, Katara, I'm not your lawyer or nor the lawyer of anyone here in Clubhouse, but let me simply just in a conversation share with you, you need to not only protect your intellectual property here in the United States, but internationally. And once again, if you take the time to DM me, I will share a list with you of 4 or 5 amazing human beings who happen to be gifted IP lawyers and also get social. They understand global entrepreneurship, and they also understand and enjoy helping creatives. And if you reach out to me, I'll share that information with you. Use my name, and they'll roll out the red carpet for you, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer your question. Does that work?
Okay, thank you. And my other question is, when I know that when you trademark something, it's protected, but when you see knockoff of your product on the market, like what allows that to happen, and why doesn't the trademark prevent that completely?
One of the most challenging things we see are when somebody violates somebody's trademark, copyright, whatever it may be. And I've got a Bleu de Chanel from Paris, cologne on my desk on this particular topic, Katria, because it's something my son wears. And I noticed on Amazon there are a lot of knockoffs. And I'm going to do a post about answering the question you just asked, following up on Chad's advice earlier in the show. These are questions that people have. And litigation can be expensive. It can be hard to hold someone accountable. If you're here in the United States and somebody knocks off your product or brand in China, it's an uphill battle to hold them legally responsible. And so it's the answer to your question is extremely complicated and normally involves a lot of zeros behind the solution, in addition to a lot of time passing in multiple courts. So it's a challenge. Your best bet on something like that is definitely to have good counsel, in your corner that can write a cease and desist letter in a way that definitely puts pressure on the violating party, regardless of where they're located around the world. And the way you do that is you reference appropriate local authorities, local laws. And as you can imagine, it just gets complicated. Doing business right now, when Chad and I started off back in the day before the internet, before social media, doing business was pretty straightforward. There was a lot of flying, a lot of handshaking, a lot of lunches across the country. And now we're doing all of this with a couple of clicks, a couple of live videos. And so it's a different environment. Unfortunately, the answer to your question is that it's complicated. But what's not complicated, Katria, is understanding, I think, some of the things that Chad has been nice enough to share with us today in the past hour with respect to building our brands, with respect to, creating instant credibility here on the social platforms, learning how to implement internet strategic profiles, his marketing blueprint when building out, our business plans, whether we have products or services. And gosh, this is just one of the reasons I love digital, social, and Clubhouse. We can all meet so many interesting people that are doing so many wonderful things. So, Katria, I really appreciate you jumping up on stage. And once again, that's a sincere offer. You DM me, and I'll share the information I have with you. And if it doesn't apply to wherever you're located, I think my friends can probably direct you to appropriate counsel, in your state, in your town, in your country, wherever you're located around the world. So it would be my pleasure. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Chad, I want to respect your time. We're coming up on an hour, and this has been wonderful. Everyone, this is recorded on, not here on Clubhouse, but what we did is we pushed the live audio over to our respective Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds, LinkedIn feeds, YouTube, Amazon Live. So if you weren't taking notes and you want to go back and digest some of this content, definitely feel free to take advantage of the recorded content on all the socials. Chad, wrapping this up, let me ask you a question. You and I have been around the block. We've been doing this for a few years. If you were to, do this all over again, what advice would you offer?
Fabulous question. There's so many advice, different type of advice I would give my younger self. The one that I've come to realize just a few years ago, and that's the essence of what I do. And that realization is this: what if some of the greatest thinkers of history did not share their wisdom with the world? So think about Aristotle, Archimedes, Mozart, Galileo, Edison, Maya Angelou, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, just to name very few among thousands of great thinkers of history. What if they decide to keep all of it inside themselves, inside their brains, and say, you know what, I'm not sharing it with anyone? My interpretation, we probably would still be living in a version of the Dark Ages. The reason for the advancement of humanity, the reason for the advancement of technology, of philosophy, of music, art, is because of the greatest thinkers found the platforms hundreds and thousands years ago, including this century, to share their wisdom with the world. I've come to realize we all have a responsibility to ourselves, to our families, to our clients, to humanity, to take the amazing thoughts inside our heads, the wisdom we collected, the experiences, what help our clients improve what it is that they do. It's our responsibility to share their wisdom with the world, because that's how we can make an impact and make it a better world, a better place to live. So the advice I would give in my younger self: start writing and publishing much more often, get on the stage, speak, share the wisdom with the world, and attract others and advise others to do the same. Because when we do the same, when we share this wisdom with the world, this will become a better place for all of us.
Chad, I just love everything you just shared throughout the course of the room today, and especially in the last 5 minutes. So damn important. Chad, thank you, my friend, for being here today, taking time from your busy day. And for those of you that jumped up on stage, asked questions, both here in Clubhouse and across the socials, I know I wasn't able to get to all of them. I will, and I'll share some of these with Chad. We will respond to you on LinkedIn and Twitter, and looks like a couple of Facebook groups, Chad. If I'll share them with you so you can get back to them. And Chad, just wrapping this up again one more time, if people would like to stay connected with you, my understanding is the best place to start is to jump over to thechadbarrgroup.com. That's ChadBarrgroup.com. And That's where you do the digital dance, get Chad out on the digital platform or dance floor to start building your copyright protected and trademark protected digital empire. Chad, Barr, this has been fun, my friend. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Mitch, thank you for your generosity and for all the amazing things you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, everyone. Take care, be safe, enjoy the journey, and never stop making each day your masterpiece. Bye-bye, everybody.